This week on the Reel Watchlist Plus, we're continuing on our series on sexy, sleazy movies. And this week we're going to do Looking for Mr.Goodbar from 1977. Dedicated schoolteacher Teresa Dunn, played by Diane Keaton, spends her nights cruising bars looking for males with whom she can engage in progressively dangerous, extreme sexual encounters. And this is based on another true story.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been staring at her good bars.
I know you want to eat them.
So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Wow.
I know. I never give a half score, but I gave a half score on this.
Wow.
Yes.
You know what? I was really torn because I really like this film.
I love this film.
So tell me why you love this film, Deb.
Well, I have so many firsts to it. First of all, it's a first movie kind of for Richard Gere and Tom Berenger. Great performance by Diane Keaton. Great special effect at the end with the strobe light. This was another one of those movies where it was completely arresting to the audience. When it was done, people could barely talk, especially when anything says in the beginning based on a true story, my God, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's back to that underbelly of New York at the time period, which I was involved up in the city, not like to this level, but because I lived in Jersey in the suburbs, you know, it was like you came home at night, you were safe. But it was just so real and such a difference between the character herself and the way she looked at things was so liberating. It was like almost like she looked at things like a guy. Mm-hmm. And yet it was scary, this movie. Right. And yet as a woman who was out there in the world...
So you said something that got my attention, as a woman. So many women didn't like this film because they said it was exploitive of women, especially feminist
they're the ones
groups.
Who were home and didn't have a lot of opportunities. That's all I can say.
Researching this and reviewing it, you still have those comments today that many modern day reviewers, speakers about, you know, movies, feminists, despise this movie because they're saying, oh, so if you're a woman looking for sex, okay, you know, you're in the city, you're going to get killed. Like, you know, and of course then the gays didn't like it either because it was a gay, closeted, was he gay, was he not, who killed, spoiler alert, sorry, our lead role. The one reason why I didn't give it a higher score, and I'm sort of still torn, maybe you can convince me otherwise, but Judith Rossner's novel, bestseller, Looking for Mr.Goodbar, she hated this film. She sold it. She got $250,000. Back then, it was considerably, you know, a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
But when she saw it, she actually felt like, as she was quoted, something along the lines, I just felt like I gave my 13-year-old daughter to Roman Polanski. So that's why I gave it a 9 and not a 10. So I may be convinced otherwise because as I'm developing my thoughts about this movie, I'm like, yeah, maybe it shouldn't have been like Rossner. Maybe Rossner was just pissed off because it wasn't her novel that was portrayed, you know, 100% on that silver screen. So. Goodbar Brandy Alexander. Chocolatey, robust, and a little bit mysterious, just like the Goodbar. The Goodbar Brandy Alexander is a concoction of brandy, dark cream de cacao, heavy cream, and coffee liqueur. Mix it all together, shake it, pour it out in a coupe glass. I'm going to stick a Goodbar inside mine. Debbie's got plenty of Goodbar she could work on, so Deb?
Well, I want to say something about this drink because since I lived at this time and I was a wild little girl, I loved Brandy Alexander's and toasted almonds and grasshoppers and pink squirrels. They were all the drinks of the day for people that didn't like to drink like me. I hadn't started my champagne wildness. So I love this drink. I could drink this whole thing 2 in a row, Joe. 2 in a row. I love it.
Debbie, I'll take that as a positive.
So why don't we just go on to the plot a little bit? Yeah. Because she was, as you said, a sign language teacher. She's kind of a good girl.
Catholic family,
very strict.
strict Catholic.
Very strict. She's not the golden girl of the family. Her sister is, played by Tuesday Weld, which is nominated for an Oscar. Didn't win. Diane Keaton, when she was younger, had a crippling disease and spent years in a year in a brace. So she has to break away from her Catholic family, and she gets this horrible apartment.
If I may add, an Irish Catholic family. So you're talking about really strict
Back
Catholics.
in the day. So she gets this horrible apartment, and she goes out at night. And at first she has a relationship with her college professor, who's a sleaze bag. And just whatever girl he uses to help him, whatever that semester, he's screwing them and using them and then casting them aside.
Again, this is another movie that talks about a dual life, a second life. During the day, she's a mild-mannered sign language teacher.
Right.
Loves children. The children love her. She's actually breaking through some of the kids that maybe can't afford a hearing aid. But at night, she's on her own in the apartment. She's out of her house. She goes to the bars and she reads a book or two at the bars, and she meets guys. She picks them up, and bang, she's at her apartment doing the wild thing.
And of course, like the 70s, drugs were plentiful at the nighttime bars. Coke, snappers, everything that we delved in and cruising, it was just part of the culture. It was a big part of the culture.
Again, when I think of Diane Keaton, I'm thinking of like kind of mild-mannered, kind of like everyday woman.
The Woody Allen type characters she plays.
She was in Annie Hall,
Right.
which she won an Oscar for, which is a total 180-degree character that she's playing as Teresa.
But they think she might have won the Oscar, Joe, because of these two combined roles. This was like a real stretch. So that year, she did both these pictures in the same year. And even though this was shocking, and she is naked in this too, I mean, which is really cutting edge for an actress. But because of the stretch of performances, she really did deserve to win. She did, 100%.
Some people say her performance in Looking for Mr. Goodbar was better than her performance in Annie Hall.
I think it is.
I haven't seen Annie Hall in a long time, so.
Well, I think it's more, you love your arcs. We talk about arcs. There's more of an arc in this character than there is in Annie Hall. That was just like, oh, shucks, and, put the lobsters in the pot and stuff like that, and playing off of Woody Allen, which is a big force in a movie. It was. This one, she transcends who she is. You forget she's Diane Keaton. Right. And this character, it really resonates. You just get pulled into this world.
Right. And then she hooks up with Tony. Tony, who's like the American Gigolo, even though he was the American Gigolo later on, Richard Gere. I thought he did an incredible performance. Again, a younger Richard Gere, hot Richard Gere.
Yes.
And this is one of those films that just made him like this hot Italian-looking kind of guy.
And he ad-libbed a lot. He does a lot of dancing. He's got this nervous energy of crazy. And you never know what he's going to do. He loves you, hates you, comes out the door, breaks the door. He's in, he's out, he's all over the place. Mm-hmm. And he's got this electric energy that is so disquieting. Right. But he's great in the part. And now let's talk about, ultimately, she does get murdered, which is the big thing about this. And that's Tom Berenger. Now, Tom Berenger had a big career for a while, but he is wrestling with his masculinity. And he's in the midst of a fight with his lover, who he doesn't want to be gay, but he's like a down-and-out guy who uses the gay thing to probably get money, extort, which in real life this character was. And he wants to prove his masculinity on a wild, crazy night, and he goes home with her to her apartment, and she makes fun of him when he can't perform sexually, and it turns wild.
The movie has a lot of controversy. I mean, it did considerably well, considering its controversial theme to it. $3 million budget, box office $22 million. A Blu-ray version recently came out on this movie, so again, another renewed interest in Looking for Mr. Goodbar. Mm-hmm. And I always wondered why they used the title, Looking for Mr. Goodbar. The Goodbar candy was a popular candy, not only at the time, but it also represented looking for that piece of ass, that good-looking guy, that guy that could turn you out. And even to this day, culturally, people will say, I'm looking for Mr. Goodbar. In the movie Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Diane Keaton's character Teresa is seen reading a copy of a book at the bar. What was the book and what was its significance?
The Godfather.
Very good. Debbie got it right.
And it was significant because it was such a big deal, The Godfather. And everybody read the book.
And you're missing one point, Deb. Diane Keaton was in The Godfather.
Correct.
She was the wife of Michael Corleone.
She was.
And Tony was actually joking about it.
Right.
When Tony comes into the scene, he goes, oh, yeah, I've seen that movie. Of course, jokingly, he could have said, yeah, I've seen you in that movie, Diane.
Right. The Godfather.
So good job, Debbie. I'm really impressed. So we're going to change it up for the audience, folks. Many of these controversial films, these skin flicks, had some kind of like, people want to see these movies, but they didn't know how or where or how they would react. For me, this film, I remember watching it as a preteen, sitting on my living room couch. My father came home from work, and I'm looking for Mr.Goodbar on HBO, because HBO was the big thing when cable came out, and they only showed these movies at night. And he came home late from work, and I quickly went onto the couch pretending I was asleep. And he's having his dinner, and I kept my eyes open just a little bit so I could watch the whole movie, because he thought I was asleep. In reality, I wasn't, and that's my first viewing of Looking for Mr.Goodbar. So, folks, if you had a movie that either you saw on cable or watched in a movie theater that you were like uncomfortable or maybe it was sexual, like what were those movies and how did you respond? For me, it was as a kid. Check it out, comment below. We'd love to hear what you think.
Well, my watch list is all about true crime, obsession, and 70s nightlife. So I try to keep them all together so we see films of the same ilk. Number 1, Saturday Night Fever from 1977. Anxious about his future after high school, a 19-year-old Italian-American from Brooklyn, John Travolta, tries to escape the harsh reality of his bleak life by dominating the dance floor at the local disco at night. This made Travolta a huge star and transported him from a TV sitcom to a headliner. Number 2, Lipstick, 1976. A top fashion model seeks justice after getting sexually assaulted by her teenage sister's obsessive music teacher. It stars the sisters Margot and Mariel Hemingway, and Margot was a top Vogue model in the 1970s. Number 3, The Black Dahlia from 2006, starring Josh Hartnett. In 1947's Los Angeles, a police detective tries to solve the shocking and grisly murder of 22-year-old aspiring actress Elizabeth Short. Her new body was found in a lot after being bisected with surgical precision, and she was called the Black Dahlia because she only wore black. Number 4, Star 80 from 1983, starring Mariel Hemingway again and Eric Roberts. A successful young model finds trouble when her obsessive manager turned husband becomes dangerously jealous. Another true crime story. And number 5, Summer of Sam from 1999. A Spike Lee joint, as they say. It's his take on the Son of Sam murders in New York City during the summer of 1977, centering on the residents of an Italian-American Northeast Bronx neighborhood who live in fear and distrust of one another. And it's an early film for Adrian Brody, and I think it's one of Spike Lee's best films. And that's my watch list, Joe.
Well, while I try to peel my eyes away from those good bars, I will say after talking today, I do want to change my score. I'm not going to punk out like you and give it a half-point ding. Christ, if I can give The Apartment a 10, then I have to give Goodbar a 10. So I'm up in my score because, again, it doesn't follow the novel exactly. Judith Rossner was pissed, but I can see why it shouldn't have been a frame-by-frame, line-by-line image reimagination of the novel. So
you got to see this film, and we both, and I'm the same way. It's a 9.5 edging over to a 10. This is a great film.
So while I'm getting a low hangover from this cocktail, and I am looking for Mr.Goodbar right in front of me, Deb, where are we going next?
We never know where we're going till we get there, but we kind of have a path, but we really don't know. We veer off here and there, and we'll see you next time on the Reel Watchlist Plus.